Who are you? What's your role and where do you work?
Hi, I'm Marttinen. I work at Kraki and I'm a co-founder and the CTO.
A Kubernetes setting can look wrong, but still feel risky to change once it's already in production. Requests, limits, auto-scaling, or probe. What would you tell a team that sees the problem, but is nervous the fix could cause an outage?
For this, you need to gain confidence in what the settings actually do when you change them. And my recommendation would be to absolutely have a staging environment that mimics your production. It doesn't need to operate at the same scale, but simulate the same kind of load. So if you have a smaller staging environment, then put on that staging environment maybe some real world or simulated users that would be using the platform that would roughly kind of equate the scale that you would see in the production environment compared to the staging environment. And there you can play safely and test the changes before you actually deploy.
Missing readiness checks usually shows up through something concrete. Traffic reaches a pod too early, auto-scaling behaves strangely, or users report errors. If a team wanted to catch this before users do, what would you have them look first?
All right. For this, I highly recommend looking into OpenTelemetry and setting up at least a basic metrics and observability stack, because that is your best friend, not only in sort of load time debugging, but also while you develop your applications. And also, if you have the ability in your application to do like a simulated user that essentially just automatically clicks through a bunch of buttons and notices, okay, there's something wrong, this view doesn't load properly, then that is also a very useful tool that allows you to notice it before users do.
Production readiness reviews can happen before launch, after incidents, during audits, or not formally at all. What would you put in place so Kubernetes readiness gets reviewed before it becomes urgent?
So this is a process technical challenge, but also a technical one. So from the process side, I would put into place at least a basic checklist. So look up some resources that are useful for how to make Kubernetes production ready and go through that basic checklist. You do not need to get it perfect, like 100% perfect. You have runtime observability for that, but at least go through that checklist and make sure that your team understands what is in there and make that checklist an actual blocker so that you do not actually ship to production before going through that and checking that everything looks green.
There's a bit of this idea traditionally that the US innovates and the EU regulates. When it comes to supply chain security, and particularly here in Europe, as we are in Finland, KCD Helsinki, what are your thoughts on that?
So recently, especially with the rise of the supply chain attacks, I think the tables have turned a little bit because the regulation is not stifling innovation here. It is actually kind of a very smart forecast from the EU, which is why we're also seeing the Cyber Resilience Act now that actually helps companies get ready for supply chain attacks and supply chain security in a way that also protects the end users in a positive way.
On the subject of Kubernetes secrets, there was recently a bit of controversy. Are Kubernetes secrets enough, or is there still something else that's necessary?
Oh God. This is a hot topic, kind of how do you do credential management? I would say I would like to get rid of all secrets altogether if possible. And if you need to have them, enable some kind of automatic rotation for everything. Look into Spiffe and Spire. Those are really great CNCF projects that allow you to essentially shift the secrets into the identities of the actual pods. So you don't need to do manual secret management at all.